Hello and welcome to this hangout. Starting about 1 minute late. Always seem to be 1 minute late. Today we're looking at two not famous blended whiskeys, but not totally unknown. Carstairs White Seal, American blended whiskey. The company was established in 1788, from what I could understand, in Philadelphia. At one time, Carstairs was a very prominent company, it seems, and then, like so many, they kind of fell down and disappeared and got bought out by various people. And it came under the control of Sazerac at some point in history. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find the chat, but I don't know if that's coming up. This one is Kentucky Deluxe, an even more obscure brand, which was introduced in 1969. Okay, it's now a Sazerac. It is a Sazerac brand now. Both of these come in the plastic bottles like I have. They also come in glass 750 and 1 liter bottles. Okay, so here we go. No, I'd find it. Or I should say I was hoping I'd find it. I put a link down below for the Sazerac website. I'm at the end of the road on the Kentucky Deluxe. It hasn't fared particularly well in competition. It's pretty dull, like the Kentucky Dale, which came out in 1976. It's not bad. Like William and Kepley and myself were talking, we said it's not bad. It's just not much going for it. It's just dull. It's just blah. And we were shocked by the McCormick because it had so much more character. So here's the Carstairs. I found that had, I've drank a pretty good amount, but not too much of it. Maybe 30% of it. I have 70% left. Anyway, this one is still in play because it's performed well in the taste challenges. And some people said, yeah, I see this up around my area. I've never seen Kentucky Deluxe in Louisiana. I bought this in Eagle Pass, Texas. Carstairs I did buy in Louisiana on US Highway 190 in Hammond, Louisiana. But I've never seen it anywhere else in this state. But I haven't exactly canvassed the whole state. One interesting thing is that both of these bottles, neither of these bottles say that they were distilled in Kentucky. This says Bardstown. This one says Frankfurt. Okay, Bardstown is the Barton Brands distillery, the Barton 1792 distillery, Sazerac. They have facilities all over the world, as you can see if you look on their website. This is from the Frankfurt, the Buffalo Trace. Both of them give tours, and neither one of these facilities charge a fee. And you can take multiple tours. There's different themes for the tours, which I'd like to check out. All the rest of the companies I noticed, like Wild Turkey, Evan Williams Experience, which isn't even a distillery tour, it's like an experience. I don't think I'm gonna bother with that. But the Jim Beam, I think, and the and many of the others, they charge money. It's like a fee. All right, now Jack Daniel's does not charge a fee, but if you want to go in there like the really good tour, you got to pay $17. And there's a difference. I went on the Anheuser-Busch tour many times. The standard free tour, which I think has been downgraded since I've done it. It's fine. It's nice. Same thing with Miller Brewing. Nice tour. Okay, fine. But if you go to Anheuser-Busch and you take their Brewmasters tour, which is about 25 bucks, it was 25 bucks when I went. Actually, I paid 30 because I had to pay a service charge. I didn't realize I could just buy the ticket at the brewery. I went to that tour in Houston, Texas. It is so much better than the basic tourist tour that it's worth the $25. All right, back to this. But neither one of these bottles say distilled in Kentucky. No, this one says blended and bottled by Sazerac in Frankfurt. This one, Kentucky Deluxe, says blended and bottled by Kentucky Deluxe. Well, you know, that is Sazerac, Kentucky. Okay, so, well, that's odd. Not so odd if you know the story. Most of these things, and I mean most of these things, from these inexpensive brands to maybe $50 bottles or even more expensive bottles, are coming from Indiana. The incredibly huge Midwest Grain Spirits, MGP, Midwest Grain Products, MGP facility. The former Seagram's distillery, their scale is so massive that with a lot of these other distillers, it's cheaper for them to just buy the base from MGP and then blend it at their facility. McCormick does it, Sazerac does it, and a whole lot of other people do it. Because MGP, their quality control and their apparently their reputation is so solid that if you buy something from them, it's a sure shot, right? So it's cheaper to just buy it from them than to distill it yourself, if you can believe that, but apparently that's the case. Okay, sort of a fascinating story. I'm glad I saw that video. Live chat is up, but no one's chatting. That's okay. I'm off today. A lot of people have to work. That's understandable. Maybe no one wants to chat, even if they're off. That's understandable too. Some people will tell me why you didn't say anything. I said I had nothing to say. I watched. I just had nothing to say. Usually I'll say something just to show I'm watching. Like, I've had that beer. It's pretty good. Same thing with the radio show. The lady said, "Oh, we missed you." I said, I wasn't ignoring your show. I didn't call for a long time because I had nothing to say. I'm not just going to say something just to be saying it. Okay, so let's go with Carstairs first. I got the tags at the bottom. On the market since 1940. Like many liquor brands, it's been downgraded. At one time, it was higher proof. And I don't mean downgraded in quality, really, but downgraded in their alcohol content. Same thing was done with big brands like Jack Daniels. Seems to be that 80 proof is where most people want to be. Most consumers want to be. It's got enough alcohol to be considered, you know, a good liquor experience, but not too much to where it's considered a turnoff. You see the 101s, you'll see the old granddad 114 proof, but I don't see a lot of people buying it. I see it in a here and there store. Okay. Give them a good mix up. Already, I don't remember which is which, but I'll give them a good mix up. I don't think there's going to be a profound difference between these, if there is going to be any difference. I do know that at Sazerac, it is not just the same liquor in different bottles. Like, for instance, their gin, they tell you on their website, they start all their gins, now they got, I don't know, like 20 of them. Not to mention all the store brand private label gins that aren't under their portfolio, you know, like Winn-Dixie gin or Caliber gin, which is Walmart. And that's Sazerac. But they use 6 base gins, and then they blend from there to get their portfolio, which is interesting. Okay. And apparently that's what they do with these blended whiskeys. They're using that base, that grain neutral spirit from MGP. Then they're buying some straight whiskey bourbon whiskey or just some other Kentucky straight whiskey, and they're blending it and saying, okay, here's the recipe for, you know, whatever, like Carstairs. Oh, here's the recipe for Black Watch, whatever. All right, so the appearance. Just a standard amber, not dark or light amber, just amber. Okay, it looks like whiskey. United States government's Tax and Trade Bureau says whiskey has to look and taste like what is commonly, how do they say it? It has to have a flavor and taste commonly associated with whiskey. I think that's what they say. That's actually a regulation of law, that whiskey has to taste like what people commonly associate with whiskey. It's interesting. Now, of course, with flavored, like honey flavored, you know, it has to taste like honey or whatever. All right, so yeah, it's just, I do these taste exercises to try to build up some kind of like ability, skill for this. Yeah, smells like straight standard blended whiskey. And what is that? Alcohol base with a little nutty dried flower, dried fruit aroma. All of your flavor and aroma is coming from the 20% content, you know, the alcohol, the whiskey part. This is much sweeter. Just from first sniff, it's sweeter. And more dried fruit, dried flowers. This one seems to have a little more character. So just on first sniff, I think the first one is Kentucky Deluxe and the second is Carstairs. I don't think your price point is any different. But I don't really know that. Either way the cut goes, neither one of them is expensive. Yeah, it's that flat, papery type thing. Oh, Yorn is a big fan of the Mighty Neck. He says, cheers, Ronald. So you used to be a teacher? Yeah. I'm still a teacher. I'm teaching alcohol today. I teach religion class too. But yeah, I taught American history, world history, etc., etc. So that first one is like a standard, got that standard Sazerac, Kentucky Dale, Kentucky Deluxe. I think that would appeal to a lot of people because it's such a neutral, almost neutral taste. And when they're doing mixed drinks or making Jello shots for New Year's or whatever they're doing, they want that neutral, nondescript thing. You say, well, a lot of alcoholics and drunks buy that stuff and drink it and fall out on the street. That's probably what they're looking for too. They're not really looking for a harsh presentation, something too deep and speculative. But it's got 40% alcohol is probably what they're searching for. But I don't recommend that. I don't think that's even funny, and I don't admire it. It's a sad statement. And that's no reflection on the product. Just because people abuse the product doesn't make the product bad. Yeah, you see, this one has more character. It has more of everything. It's richer. It has a honey note. It has the dried flowers, the dried fruit, the stereotypical whiskey flavor. If you have drunk whiskey, you know what I'm talking about. It's got a smokiness, a woodiness. You know, William and I did that McCormick blended whiskey examination, McCormick Special Reserve, and we said, oh, you know, it has so much going for it, and we couldn't find any detriment. You know, like, what was the downside to it? We couldn't find any downside, especially considering the very low price we had both paid for our sample bottles. So yeah, this one has a lot of nice things. But on the downside, there is no downside. It's really a nice blended whiskey. Now, some people might be saying, I don't know what that is, blended whiskey. Well, it's an old brand, an old sub-genre of whiskey. Going back over 100 years, and William did some research on it. They said there was a push by some whiskey companies to have it labeled as imitation whiskey. But there was enough stroke from those blended whiskey producers and the US government. They said, no, it's a type. If you don't like it, don't drink it. Just like brandy, there's some grades of brandy that are just almost like you wouldn't buy it, right? But some people do, and it's accepted. It's called like there's a term for it, like it's like brandy made with the leftovers that you wouldn't even make regular brandy with. You can't. It has to be designated that. I can't remember the term, but same thing with meat production. You know, the grades of meat. People say, if I get a steak, I want it to be prime or choice. I can understand that, but you can also buy utility grade meat, and you can buy commercial standard. And if you really want to go cheap, you can buy canner grade. Canner. Well, that's a grade of beef. Canner. It's not going to win any awards for best in show meat, but it might sell in potted meat, in the potted meat section. Okay, so back to this. The same thing here. Some people like it. They don't want to spend a lot. Bar rooms don't want to spend a lot on their well drinks. You say, I'm getting a whiskey sour. Okay, good. You're probably getting one of these. And you're hanging out with your friends. You're not going to sit there and examine it to the hilt. You're just going to drink it. And you're going to get ripped off anyway. You're going to pay $8 for something that costs the bar maybe 80 cents to make, maybe 85 cents including labor. So, I mean, that's you're paying for the experience of being out at the bar. You're not paying for the product. Yeah. This Kentucky, I'm calling it. I'm saying this is Kentucky Deluxe, and this is Carstairs. Carstairs wins, okay? I mean, it's better. It's a better product, even though the price is generally identical. But also, I want to say that this one, the loser, is not bad. Twice already. The Black Label Old No. 7 has lost twice already. But it's not bad. Some people say Jack Daniels tastes like airplane glue, tastes and smells like airplane glue, wood glue, and rubbing alcohol and all this. That is not true. There's no credibility with those type of statements. You get these crazy calls with numbers you don't recognize. Okay, so it's not bad. It's not ideal or wonderful or exemplary, but it's not bad. I've tasted bad things. And I've ranted about that before. I've tasted bad beer, okay? Budweiser was not one of those beers. People will say, Budweiser, that's trash. Yeah, it's trash, sure. I don't know who you're trying to impress by saying that. But you can come hang out with me and I'll show you trash, and then you can really enjoy drinking it. Well, you won't enjoy it, but then you can experience it. Then you might change your opinion about Budweiser if I show you real trash. Yeah, so I'm going to say, all right, Carstairs in my right hand. Yeah, Carstairs and KD Kentucky Deluxe. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be very close of a contest, and it was not. easy to pick. Now, in some of these I'm trying to straighten up these cans. In some of these contests, I got it wrong. You know, I got it wrong. I was wrong. But I did notice that they were distinct. Like a professor was talking about standard beer, like American Adjunct Lager and American Adjunct Light Lager. And he said, you can't tell those apart. They're all the same. I said, no, he's wrong. He's wrong. But he was right. They are, and I'll add a qualifying statement, they're essentially the same. And I failed miserably most of the time when I tried to do the taste challenges. I would say, you know, they're all good, they're enjoyable, but I couldn't tell them apart. But the whiskeys and brandy, I could tell them apart. And I predicted that, and I should have made a preface statement like, you know, like a hypothetical statement, but I did that in my mind. I said, if I taste these two, I know I'm going to get Carstairs correct, and I did. So what's the final verdict? Kentucky Deluxe. It's not going to disappoint you unless you're expecting a great array of flavors. On the other hand, Carstairs, you might be pleasantly surprised because you might see it on the shelf and say, I'm not expecting much. Get much, but you're going to get a lot more than you might have believed. So yeah, they both are using 80% grain neutral spirits. That's not going to change the taste or flavor, taste or aroma. Okay, that's going to be even. It's the whiskey that they're blending it with, and whatever they're blending it with is not the same. Now, I don't know what they're using. Okay, so maybe in Frankfurt they're using some Buffalo Trace whiskey and they're blending it and making the and that might be the key right there, Frankfurt. So it could be they're using Buffalo Trace and it's making a difference. And then over here at Kentucky Deluxe, they might be using the Barton, but I don't know. That's just a complete guess with no basis. In fact, they might be buying everything from MGP, the grain neutral spirit and the. But regardless, there's your answer. Carstairs wins. So if you see either one and they're the same price or nearly the same price, I would say go with Carstairs. It's a better buy, in my opinion. So there we go. Carstairs wins. And this whiskey is still in the race, considering it's undefeated. Imagine that. I paid what, $3 for this? Half-size bottle. This flask. And it keeps winning. It keeps winning. I paid the same price, but you know, I wasn't going to be able to swing a deal at the liquor store in Eagle Pass, Texas. I'm not in my hometown or my home state. I wasn't going to get there and try to do one of my hustles, so to speak. I just said, okay, I'll buy it. You know, over here where I live, and I'll be more hard-nosed in negotiations with the convenience stores, and usually I can pull it off. Thank you for watching this video production, and let me know what you think if you've had these two. Otherwise, have a good Thursday. We might be back at 3 o'clock Central Time for we should be back at 3 o'clock for an interesting examination of Modelo Especial, and that was an idea that was conceived and promoted by Harry Meadows, Blue Nose Beer Reviews. He came up with that idea. I didn't.